But in the first hour, I want to talk about the revolution. I want to talk about how are we going to bring about change in this country? What's it going to take? How long is it going to take? What kind of effort is going to be necessary? What got me started thinking about this is this piece over at Democratic Underground. It was posted by Rat Eyes and on DU. He says, we got a government of the wealthy, by the wealthy, for the wealthy, millionaires and billionaires running the show in Congress, the executive, the judiciary, middle class and poor are screwed. And, of course, I wrote an entire book about this called Screwed, the Undeclared War Against the Middle Class and What We Can Do About It, and lay out where it all came from and how it happened. But here's this is the more serious blowback. I mean, in my book, I'm calling for us all to get involved in the political process and take it back and do things like, pulling back corporate personhood. But, Rat Eyes here is saying Congress is going to toss us a bone and think some of us will be pacified. But revolution is coming. It may not be tomorrow, may not be next year, but it's coming in our lifetimes. Barack Obama won't save us. Democratic Party won't save us. God, if there is a God, won't save us. We can only save ourselves. And when we, the people, finally come to accept that cold, hard reality, we, the people, will fight to save ourselves. Revolution is coming, mark my words. And I want to say, and I keep saying it on this program, and I wish other progressive talk show hosts would figure this out, and other parts of the progressive media would figure this out, because nobody else seems to be talking about this, or at least nobody that, there's only so much media that one can consume in a 24-hour cycle. But the teabag movement is the leading edge of a revolution, and it may well be the leading edge of the revolution. And what we share in common with the teabaggers is much greater than what we have in our differences from them. Yes, the Lyndon LaRouche people are trying to, actually, what they're doing, the Lyndon LaRouche cultists are doing a very good job of hijacking the teabag movement, and nobody even is talking about it. It's a big problem for the right-wing funders of this thing. That, these signs with Obama with the Hitler mustache, this is from Lyndon LaRouche. And the LaRouches are showing up at these things and passing out their literature, and they are having a significant impact on the teabag movement, on the thinking of the people who show up for these teabag events. We could be too. Plus, we have our own events. And now, ironically, our events don't get covered. 75,000 or more people, and we're talking park police numbers, real numbers, show up in Washington, D.C. for a weekend event to protest Don't Ask, Don't Tell and the Defense of Marriage Act and the whole thing, and in favor of gay rights. And it gets no mention at all on mainstream television, or if at the very least, a passing mention or a single story. 20,000 teabaggers, a third that number. 20,000, maybe 30,000 at the most, show up for a Glenn Beck rally. And holy cow, it is a major event. It is covered by all the news media for a week and a half, 2 weeks. It dominates the news cycle. It's got pundits talking about it. So the right-wing populist outrage is being covered, and the right-wing populist outrage is being exploited by hate radio in ways that are just mind-boggling. There is a left-wing populist outrage out there, and you know who you are because it's us. It's you and me. We are sickened by the Max Baucuses of the world who are taking money, millions of dollars, from the so-called healthcare industry, from the banksters, who are between us and our doctors handling the money that we would be handing to our doctors, who are standing in the middle and taking, and people like Stephen Hemsley, United Healthcare, with his $700 million of varied sources of income from United Healthcare over a 5-year period. AARP making millions and millions of dollars with United Healthcare. Aetna, WellPoint, all of these CEOs making millions of dollars in in paychecks and in many cases tens or hundreds of millions of dollars in deferred stock bonuses and dividends and what do you call it, stock options. And that's just the tip of the spear. You got the banksters going nuts. Look at this. This is the headline from today's Financial Times. I'm holding it up for the camera for those of you who are watching our live feed over at ThomHartmann.com or on Free Speech TV. Bankers' fury at UK bonus super tax. That's the biggest headline in today's Financial Times. That's the lead headline. Bankers' fury. What is the story? Bankers in the city of London reacted with fury to UK government plans to levy an immediate 50% super tax on bank bonuses payouts. By the way, you know how much they're starting at? £50,000, $75,000. Anything over that, 50% tax. In his annual pre-budget report, Alistair Darling, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, see, he's England's Tim Geithner. Except for the fact that he didn't used to be the chairman of the New York Fed. He didn't used to be good buddies with all. He didn't used to be, the protege of Alan Greenspan. Alistair Darling, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, announced a 50% levy on discretionary bonus payouts to curb big bank bonuses that had provoked public anger. He said banks that had been battered by the financial crisis should be rebuilding their capital rather than paying generous bonuses to their staff. Gee, what a novel idea. But the banks are saying, no, you rebuild our capital by giving us money from taxpayers, and then we'll give some of that money to our banksters. Mr. Darling justified the levy by arguing that banks had generated excess profits as a direct or indirect result of the government's bailout of the banking system. The windfall tax will apply to all banks and building societies. Pretty straightforward stuff. The Treasury estimates the move will raise £550 million, that's $890 million, and affect 20,000 banksters. Some bankers suggest it could raise could raise £4 billion, it'd be $5.5–6 billion, if, as seems likely, the banks press ahead with their bonus payouts. The first £25,000 of bonuses will be exempt. So you can get a bonus up to about $40,000, and after that, 50% tax. Coming up on the Hartmann radio program, Elizabeth Warren, the woman who is in charge of overseeing the TARP program. Right, the TARP program, the bank bailout. She's, Congress has put her in charge of this thing. She says, can you imagine an America without a strong middle class? We talked about this last week, but this is, apropos of this point. Today, 1 in 5, I'm quoting Elizabeth Warren, today 1 in 5 Americans is unemployed, underemployed, or just plain out of work. 1 in 5. 1 in 9 families can't make the minimum payment on their credit cards. 1 in 8 mortgages is in default or foreclosure. 1 in 8 Americans is on food stamps. More than 120,000 families are filing for bankruptcy every month. The economic crisis has taken $5 trillion from pensions and savings and threatens to put tens of millions of homeowners out on the streets. This is Elizabeth Warren. Now, okay, so the response of Congress, and Barney Frank, to his credit, the response of Congress to this is, let's create a commission. Let's create, an equivalent. An equivalent to the Consumer Protection Act, right? If you buy an electric toaster and you plug it in and it blows up, there's actually a federal commission that says, to the toaster manufacturers, you can't do that. You can't sell defective merchandise. If you do, you get busted. So why don't we do the same thing for banks? If a bank sells defective merchandise, they get busted. Seems, pretty straightforward. Okay, well, guess who's blowing it up? The New Dem Coalition. Members of the New Democrat Coalition, whose deference to banks, big banks, this from Shaheen Nazirapur over at the Huffington Post, whose deference to big banks is reflected in massive amounts of money they have taken from the financial services industry since 2008, temporarily blocked the landmark Financial Regulatory Reform Bill from hitting the House floor yesterday, on Wednesday. This is a regulation that's going to hit J.P. Morgan, Chase, Citibank, Bank of America, Wells Fargo. Working on behalf of the big banks, the New Dems were able to extract a compromise that would allow federal regulations to preempt state laws on a case-by-case basis. In other words, if states want to protect people, which they can do right now to a certain extent by regulating banks, the New Dems want to blow that up. State regulators have extracted billions of dollars from predatory lenders. Well, the New Dems want to put an end to that. Because of the compromise, national banks may be able to completely avoid stronger state consumer protection measures. The $1.5 trillion home mortgage market, for example. And then he points out it's not like the national banks are better than state banks at what they do. 11% of home mortgages held by national banks are delinquent, according to Huffington Post analysis. That's more than double the rate of state banks. 7% of national bank credit card loans are delinquent compared to just 5% of state banks. National banks are holding $188 billion in delinquent loans, state banks a fifth of that. The national banks are just not all that good, but they are pouring money. Members of the New Democrat coalition, this over at Think Progress, Firedog Lake, David Dayen, writing, members of the New Democrat, this is actually from Congress Daily. Members of the New Democrat coalition Tuesday warned House leaders they will consider voting against a rule for debate on an overhaul of the nation's financial regulatory system if Democratic leaders do not allow floor votes on amendments they are backing, which makes the measure more palatable to K Street. That's to the lobbyists. There's a 68-member coalition. The entire coalition will vote no. Barney Franks accused the New Democrat coalition of blocking the bill because they are being prodded by big banks to abolish the Consumer Financial Protection Agency and to allow major financial institutions to avoid tougher state laws than federal regulations. Who's in charge of the New Democrat coalition? The head of it is Melissa Bean. She's a congresswoman from Illinois. Melissa Bean, by the way, received $1.4 million in the financial services industry, number one in Congress for money from that industry. She's followed by Representative Jim Hines of Connecticut, who collected $1.3 million from the financial services industry. He's also a member of the New Democratic Coalition, and by the way, he's a former investment banker at Goldman Sachs. And Congressman Ron Klein, the Democrat from Florida, who brought in $1.2 million from the financial services industry. These are Democrats! This is how badly broken our system is, that you've got this so-called New Democratic coalition. The NDC is working to craft and pass legislation including permanent normal trade relations for the People's Republic of China. Fast-track trade promotion authority. Give me a break. I'm telling you, progressives have more in common with teabaggers than we have. I mean, they're all there's a few among the teabaggers who are hysterical that a black guy is president. His middle name is Hussein, and they think he's from Kenya, right? I mean, there are some. But that is the veneer. There is a populist rage growing in this country, and you see it reflected in the increased ratings over at Fox News, for example, and these right-wing talk show hosts who are speaking to it, and they are exploiting that populist rage by saying, you know whose fault it is? It's the liberals. It's the liberals who are trying to take over the world with climate change, you know. They're trying to take over health care. They want to regulate every piece of your life. And people know something's wrong. They know something's broken. They know that our politicians are not acting in our best interest. What they don't know is that the big economic interests who are paying off the members of Congress are the same ones who are pushing this whole right-wing thing. Up next, because I got highs coming up, you should what you should do if you find a stranger asleep in your couch in the morning. Plus, coming up later in the hour today, we have a new alert called the good, the bad, and the very, very ugly. You're not going to want to wish this, the very, very, very ugly. On a scale of 1 to 10, today it's a 10. It's not a 6. Plus your calls.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 866-987-THOM.
When heartburn grabs a hold of you, how do you spell relief? R-O-L-A-I-D-S. Rolaids starts to work in seconds, relieving tough heartburn symptoms fast. R-O-L-A-I-D-S spells relief. Pick up a roll today.
Do you know why so many people have trouble learning new languages? Because they make the mistake of trying to learn it, when they should just absorb it. And right now, a free demo CD-ROM from Rosetta Stone will show you how. So stop memorizing, stop translating, and please stop doing drill after boring drill, because now you can unlock your hidden language learning potential with the world's fastest, easiest way to learn, Rosetta Stone. We don't want you to take our word for it. We don't even want you to listen to the U.S. diplomats, over 10,000 schools, or NASA, who all believe in our program. We just hope you'll accept our free demo so you can experience the power of Rosetta Stone for yourself. Discover the secret to learning a language faster than you ever imagined. For your free demo, call 1-800-377-9196. Don't try to learn a language. Just absorb it. Call 1-800-377-9196. That's 1-800-377-9196.
Are you a teeth grinder? Many people clench and grind their teeth in their sleep and wake up with jaw pain, headaches, and chipped teeth. Sleep Right Dental Guard offers affordable, comfortable, and the most durable protection for teeth grinding. With the Sleep Right no-boil self-adjusting technology, you get a custom fit immediately. No hassles of boiling water and melting plastic like most other dental guards. Sleep Right is the #1 brand prescribed by dental professionals. Find Sleep Right Dental Guard in the oral care aisle only at CVS, Walgreens, and Target.
When heartburn grabs a hold of you, how do you spell relief? R-O-L-A-I-D-S. Rolaids starts to work in seconds, relieving tough heartburn symptoms fast. R-O-L-A-I-D-S spells relief. Pick up a roll today.
You're listening to WIN, Workers Independent News. I'm Doug Cunningham. Union leaders, business CEOs, and economists are gathering at the White House today for a jobs summit in an effort to come up with a strategy to create jobs. AFL-CIO President Rich Trumka says he'll deliver a message from millions of working people that immediate action is needed to turn around the economy. The economy is hitting working Americans hard across the country. As the White House holds its job summit today, the AFL-CIO and Working America are joining workers, clergy, and labor leaders in Dayton, Columbus, Minneapolis, Sacramento, and Albuquerque for roundtables on job creation. The AFL-CIO is urging quick action on a 5-point jobs plan. It would include extending the lifeline for jobless workers, rebuilding America's schools, roads, and energy systems, increasing aid to state and local governments to maintain vital services, funding jobs in hard-hit communities, and putting TARP funds to work for Main Street. In New York City, members of the National Association of Broadcast Employees and Technicians decided to go ahead with the lighting of the NBC